I just finished watching the movie After the Hunt, and honestly, I was really hyped for this movie, mainly because it's directed by Luca Guadagnino. If you've seen Challengers or Call Me By Your Name, you already know he's got the signature vibe. His movies always look stunning, every shot feels like a painting, and the characters are deep, messy, and real. He's amazing at exploring desire, love, and the complicated parts of human relationships that most movies don't touch. And true to Luca's style, After the Hunt is not just a story, it's an experience. It's filled with hidden meanings, emotional tension, and that kind of ending that sticks with you long after the credits roll. So today, I'm breaking it all down. To really unpack the movie, I'm going to break it down into four main parts. First, inside Luca's mind. We'll start by exploring how Luca Guadagnino came up with this story and what might have inspired him to make it. Second, the big question, who's telling the truth? Is it Maggie or Hank? The movie never gives us a clear answer, so we'll dive deep into each character, their actions, their motives, and their secrets to figure out who's telling the truth. Original ending. Did you know the movie's original ending was completely changed? Luca actually decided to scrap the one from the original script and go into the whole new direction. So let's break it down. What was different and which version do you think works better? Real meaning and analysis. So let's talk about what this movie is really trying to say. Some critics think it's shallow or doesn't have much depth, but I totally disagree. I think there's way more going on beneath the surface. Inside Luca's mind, After the Hunt follows a college professor, played by Julia Roberts, who finds herself facing one of the toughest moments of her life. She's respected at work and admired by her students until everything changes. One of her top students, played by Ayo Edebiri, accuses another professor, Andrew Garfield's character, of sexual assault. Suddenly, the calm academic world around her starts to crumble, and as the truth begins to unravel, it threatens to destroy her career and reputation. Director Luca Guadagnino said what really pulled him into After the Hunt was how deeply it looks at power, desire, and the complicated sides of human behavior, how people sometimes do whatever it takes to protect themselves, even if it ends up hurting others. When he first read Nora Garrett's script, he said it immediately caught his attention. He was amazed by how such a small, personal story could still explore big ideas that everyone can relate to. Things like guilt, truth, and the parts of ourselves we were trying to hide. Nora Garrett, who wrote the film, explained that she was fascinated by the idea of someone who's built their success on self-denial, someone who pushes themselves forward in life by ignoring painful truths. That drive can make them powerful and ambitious, but it also stops them from being honest with their own emotions. Garrett said the story was inspired by what she's seen in Hollywood's power dynamics, as well as her interest in cancel culture and how society deals with mistakes. She wanted to ask tough questions, like should someone be punished forever for the worst thing they ever done? And is it better to stay silent or face the guilt head on? The big question, who's telling the truth? The thing about After the Hunt is that it never tells us straight up who's right or wrong. And that's kind of the whole point. Instead of handing us the truth, the movie makes us think. It pushes us to look at Maggie and Hank and decide for ourselves who we believed or if we can even trust them. Like Alma and everyone else, we're stuck trying to connect the dots and figure out what's real. Still, there were clues scattered throughout the film, and if you really look at their actions, their words, and how they react, we can start to see who these people really are. Let's start with Hank, played by Andrew Garfield. Hank gives off that vibe of someone who knows he's charming and uses it to his advantage. At first, you can't tell if he's being friendly or being manipulative. His smiles feel a little too practiced, his confidence a little too smooth. Then you start to notice the small things, the way he invades people's space, touches someone's leg when he shouldn't, or leans in just a bit too close during conversations. These aren't really huge red flags by themselves, but together they built this uneasy feeling that Hank doesn't believe the rules apply to him. And then there's the way he talks, especially to younger people. Hank loves to act like he's the smartest person in the room. He rants about how the new generation is too soft, too focused on comfort, too quick to judge. Sometimes he actually makes sense, and you almost find yourself agreeing with him until you realize his words are filled with arrogance. It's not wisdom, it's ego. He hides behind clever words to make himself look superior, but underneath that, there is a total lack of empathy. A man disconnected from how his actions affect others. What makes Hank so complicated is that he sounds believable. He has that calm, confident tone that makes people listen, even when he's twisting the truth. In that diner scene with Alma, he spins his story like a pro. He's controlled, persuasive, and almost hypnotic. But if you look closely, there's something off. You can feel that he's performing, not confessing. But there is one scene that gives us a pretty strong clue about who might be telling the truth. The scene in Alma's apartment. After a heated confrontation with Maggie, where Alma loses her cool and lashes out until Maggie finally slaps her, Alma retreats to her secret apartment, a quiet space she uses to escape from the chaos of her job. But when she walks in, she's shocked to find Hank there. He blames Maggie for ruining his reputation, destroying his career, and turning everyone against him. But Alma is not having it. She pushes back, reminding him that he's not the victim here, that his downfall is not Maggie's fault. It's his own. He broke the rules. And that's when Hank snaps. He yells back, his voice shaking with anger and hurt, and said, "The only person I ever broke the rules was you." That one line drops like a bomb. It's the confession that confirms everything the film has been hinting at. The rumors, the tension, and the stolen glances, it's real. Alma and Hank had an affair. But before the shock can even settle, the scene takes a dark turn. Hank gets too close, his anger twisting into something dangerous. He corners Alma and forces a kiss on her. She tells him to stop, but he doesn't listen. Not until she pushes him away with all her strength. In that moment, the mask comes off completely. The charm, the intellect, the act, it's all gone. What's left is a man who refuses to respect boundaries. That single moment, ignoring Alma's no, speaks louder than any confession or flashback ever could. It mirrors Maggie's story almost perfectly. The film never shows us exactly what happened between Hank and Maggie, but this scene gives us the answer without saying it outright. It's not just about what Hank did, it's about who he is. And when you see that side of him, it becomes hard to deny that maybe Maggie was telling the truth all along. Now let's talk about Maggie because she's not exactly innocent either, and that's what makes her side of the story so tricky. Hank's main excuse is that he only crossed the line with Maggie because he wanted her to admit that he copied parts of her dissertation, and surprisingly, that turns out to be true. Alma later discovers the plagiarism herself, and we even see Maggie using Alma's own words in her German article attacking Hank. From the start, it's pretty clear that Maggie has a habit of twisting the truth to make herself look better. Maggie's reasons aren't simple. Maybe she wanted to break the connection between Hank and Alma, who she seemed to look up to, maybe even liked. Or maybe she just wanted to ruin Hank before he could expose her for cheating on her work. Whatever her reason, Maggie clearly knows how to spin things to her advantage. What's strange is that Maggie never seems sorry. She doesn't show guilt or regret, and that makes you wonder if she's hiding more lies. If she can cheat on her work and not care, what else could she be hiding? Maggie also plays the part of a victim, saying she's just a young black woman trying to make it in a world ruled by privileged men like Hank. And at first, it's easy to believe her and even feel bad for her. But then, we found out the twist. Maggie actually comes from a rich family, one that probably helped her get into Yale in the first place. The truth changes how we see her completely. She is not just a victim, she's complicated, clever, and maybe more manipulative than anyone else. So, who's lying? The movie never gives us a clear answer, but the evidence leans toward Hank being guilty, not because of what he says, but because of what he does. Maggie may twist the truth, but Hank crosses the line in ways that confirms her story more than deny it. In the end, After the Hunt is not about proving guilt or innocence. It's about how power, ego, and fear distort truth, and how everyone, even the victims and the villains, uses lies as a way to survive. Original ending. In After the Hunt, Alma finds herself in a complete downward spiral. After being fired, she becomes the target of outrage from Yale students. The pressure gets so intense that she collapses and ends up in the hospital. While recovering, Alma finally opens up to her husband, Frederick, that she's been carrying a painful secret from her past. Years ago, when she was a teenager, Alma had what she calls a life-changing relationship with an older man, her father's best friend. But looking back, it was clearly an abusive relationship, not love. When it ended, a devastated Alma told people the man had abused her. Later, she admitted she had lied. But by then, the damage was done. The man took his own life. Ever since, Alma has never fully moved on and still sees him as the great love of her life. In the original version of the script, things played out very differently for Alma. After everything falls apart, Frederick leaves her and Alma decides to resign from Yale. She returns home to Sweden, desperate for closure. There, she tries to meet with the mother of the man she once had an affair with, but the mother never comes. Broken and full of guilt, Alma visits her aging parents and finally tells them the truth. Her mother's response is brutally honest. No one ever really gets over anything. After that, Alma heads back to Yale to stand by Maggie's side during the hearing. But Luca Guadagnino's final cut changes everything. In the movie, we see Alma doesn't leave Yale, doesn't quit her job, and doesn't testify for Maggie. Instead, the story jumps 5 years into the future, showing that once disgraced professor everyone mocked online is now the dean of Yale. A shocking twist that says a lot about power, forgiveness, and how the world tends to move on, even when the truth never really heals. What do you think about the ending? Do you prefer Luca's version, or would the original have been a stronger finish? Real meaning and analysis. I honestly don't understand how anyone could say After the Hunt has nothing to say, because this movie says a lot. It's not just about the drama, about the scandal. It's a story about generations of women, power, and pain. It dives into how younger women often feel let down by the older generation, especially those who should understand them the most. The film shows that many older women, like Alma, carry deep unhealed trauma. They've spent so long pretending they're fine that they can't face their own pain, let alone help someone else with theirs. Even though she was once a victim herself, she refuses to admit it. She hides it so well that it affects everything: her judgment, her loyalty to Hank, and the way she treats Maggie. But After the Hunt is not just about personal gain, it's also a critique of the academic world. The movie brilliantly exposes the hypocrisy inside the elite universities. These are places that love to talk about ethics, feminism, and justice. But when it's time to live by those values, everyone goes silent. You have professors who lecture about morality while breaking the very rules they teach. Hank, who probably crossed a serious line, and Alma, who stays quiet instead of standing up for Maggie, represent the exact contradiction. It's a powerful reflection of how universities today often care about image and politics than about doing what's right. The film also shines through its small, smart details. Alma does not lose his job because of the scandal. It's because she broke into another professor's office. That shows how the system values obedience over justice. And the movie's decision not to show clear flashbacks of what really happened is genius. Instead, we see the truth in Hank's behavior. His inability to respect boundaries with Alma tells everything we need to know. The movie is not flawless. The pacing drags at times, and it definitely feels slow in parts. But even with those flaws, After the Hunt still stands out for its smart writing and daring themes. It might not be Luca Guadagnino's best work, but it's definitely one I enjoyed and found worth watching. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.